Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books. What a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together. What a yummy snack.
Or afternoon or evening or whenever it is that you are joining us for PBJamz. We are so excited to see you here, and well, we don't see you, but you see us. So we're excited that you can see us because we have an amazing book to share by an amazing author illustrator. Charnelle Barlow is here, and she has a book about Sister Rosetta and the Talking Guitar, which is just a phenomenal picture book biography about a person that I dare say a lot of us have maybe never even heard of. I think I had heard of her, but I didn't really know anything about her. I had heard her name in music circles. But I think that's it. So anyway, welcome, Charnelle. I'm excited to
Thank you.
Yes, and talk about this amazing book and this amazing woman. So man, she's just so rich and full of layers and yeah, and the book is too. And so coming at, and I didn't put this in the questions, I apologize, but I think we'll get to that actually in a minute. I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm so excited. I told Charnelle I had read back through her book again last night and had looked at just a bunch of YouTube videos of Sister Rosetta in action. And the YouTube list is going to be linked below. And I hope that you'll take the time to really watch her, because the words, as beautiful as they are, and the illustrations as fantastic as they are, and they are, you guys need to see the book. But man, just watching her in action just puts a whole nother level and layer to knowing her. So I hope you'll check that out. But talk to us about how you came to know Sister Rosetta and how you got inspired to write this book about her.
Yeah, so like a lot of people, I had never heard about Sister Rosetta Tharpe growing up. And I have, a few family members who are into music and stuff. So around, I think it was 2019, I was talking to my sister-in-law, and she had mentioned Sister Rosetta just like in passing, and I'm like, oh, okay, I've never heard that name before. So I didn't really think anything of it. I was gonna look it up, but I had kind of forgotten. And then I was on Instagram, and I think her birthday had just passed, the anniversary of her birthday, and I saw a post on Instagram about her, and I was like, who is she? Yeah. So I started looking her up, and not only is she, an amazing musician, an amazing guitarist, but I started reading about her biography, and the first thing that I saw was that she mastered the acoustic guitar by age 6.
Which is crazy.
It's insane.
It is.
So I was like, wait, why is no one talking about this? Why have I never heard this before? Yeah. And so I started kind of digging in a little bit more and thinking about it more. And I'm like, I have to write about this. Yeah. Like, people have to know.
Yeah. Yeah, like everybody needs to know. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So you mentioned that some family members have musical background. How about you? Do you have any musical background? Do you sing or play? Or
no?
She's like, no.
I started teaching myself guitar a few years ago, but I put it down for a bit. Just life gets busy and stuff. So I need to get back into it. But it did give me like another whole level of appreciation for just the amount of, dedication and just technique, and your hands get sore. And I'm like, she did this at 6?
At 6. Yes,
Yeah.
it's absolutely. I mean, I think typically they don't even recommend, that kids start learning guitar until after that, because for those very reasons that you mentioned. And I picked it up too for a couple of years and I dabbled, and that's as far as I got was dabbling. And then I set it down and I haven't had time nor really the inclination to pick it back up because it does take just a lot of dedication and time. And yeah, your fingers do get sore and tired. And you think about, she started at what, 4, right?
She started at 4.
Started at 4 and had mastered the guitar by 6. And that is just unbelievable. Just amazing. So
Yeah.
amazing.
I think back to what I was doing between the ages of 4 and 6, and I'm like, it wasn't guitar.
It was not mastering the guitar. Me either, girl. No, absolutely not. I so wish.
Right?
Yeah, 100%. So talk to us about, so once you got this original idea and you're like, okay, everybody has to know about Sister Rosetta Tharpe. How did you go about, like, what was your writing process? And this is the question that wasn't in there, but as an author illustrator, how did you approach that maybe differently? A lot of the folks I have on are author only. And so I love when I can get someone who did both because, and guys, the illustrations in this book, collage, right? It's a lot of, beautiful collage work. And just, I was noticing last night as I was looking, even, Write Me, like you had pulled a little tiny piece of newsprint and maybe on the guitar case or something, it just said Write Me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that attention to detail was just so cool. I really appreciated that.
Thank you.
But talk to us about that process.
Well, it was really interesting because, like you said, I'm inherently an illustrator. That's how I started off with storytelling, was through pictures. And so I'd been talking with my agent and I was like, I would like to get into writing as well. And she's like, yeah, go for it, and so I have a writing critique group that I'm a part of. And so when this story kind of, came about, the original structure of it kind of just poured out. Like it kind of just flowed. And then from there, it was more so of just figuring out, okay, well, where do I want the focus? How much do I want to include? Because her and her mother had moved to Chicago when she was a little older. I think it was around like the 8 to 10 age. So I was like, well, do I want to include that in it? Do I want to just, like, what do I want to focus on?
Yeah.
And so I kind of started honing in and, editing and taking stuff out and putting stuff in. But I found like the more versions I did, like the farther away I was kind of getting from what I wanted. So by the time I got to like version 7, it was like, okay, wait, let's go back to version 3 and start from there. And that's when everything kind of clicked. And so for me, I thought it would be where I would, kind of picture things as I'm writing, since I am an illustrator.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to see that with my process, it was easier for me to just focus on the writing and then figure out what I wanted it to look like. So there was only really one image in the book that I had in mind, like as I was writing, and that's the scene where we have little Rosetta and her mom sitting there with the guitar, and her mom is like, okay, let's just try plucking, like one string at a time. So that's really the image that I had like in mind. But everything else, I was just like, I have no idea. None. And then after I finished writing it and got, like a good solid manuscript, that's when I was like, okay, now I can go through and figure out what I want it to look like. Because I think for me, it was difficult to be having to change things. And then I would have to change like what I'm thinking I want it to look like. So I found that really interesting because I didn't think I would be like that.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah. But I can see that makes sense how, like every change you make changes the images in your head. And so you're like, let me just get all the all the words down, and then that makes sense. Yeah. But I can see that would be kind of shocking to you, like as an illustrator from the get-go. Yeah, because it's interesting, because as I write, a lot of times, like I have no artistic talent, like zero. And so, but I can see that all in my head. And so for me, the challenge is like, oh gosh, I don't want to step on the illustrator's toes. Like, I really try to have to scale, but then I'm like, oh, but I can just see it so clearly. Why can't I just, so I can relate, at least from that perspective, to say normally, like, it's all in my head as I go. Yeah. So, but yeah, you're right. As you change and revise, then that's going to change and revise the illustrations too. So did you do a little dummy as like when you got closer, or did you just dive right into the collage work from the time you had a good solid manuscript?
So I did do sketches first. And my sketches were a little more rough than usual, just because like I didn't have to worry necessarily about like another person. Because I was like, wait, this is my book. Like I can, like, this is great.
It's all me.
It's all me.
I love it.
So I did do sketches and stuff just to make sure, the flow was there. And I had decided to do collage because the book that I had just finished before that, Everything in Its Place, which I actually have right there.
Yep, I see it. Yep.
I had done, I had drawn it in colored pencil, and then did digital collage with it.
Okay.
And I had so much fun with that. I was like, I do little Rosetta in, cut paper collage. And I had a ton of fun with it. It was definitely a learning curve. Like, this was my first time doing an entire book in cut paper. But I had a lot of fun with it. I did question my sanity at times.
Yep, I can imagine.
But it was really fun. So, I had ordered vintage music sheets from Etsy and, cut those up, and you saw them kind of like pasted throughout.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And I like painted all these different papers and stuff. So it was a blast.
Awesome. That level of creativity just really amazes me. I wish I had some artistic talent like that, because they really, like how you bring everything together. It really, really what, and I think too, for the time period, like I think the collage particularly suited this story because of that time period, and because it is very vintage. And so being able to pull all of that in, all that ephemera, and that, it was really cool. Yeah.
I wanted it to feel like you could like feel everything, like very tactile, where you can see like the shadows and almost feel like it's not just like a flat page, like you're literally holding the illustration in your hand.
Yes, and I did feel like that. And I mean, I was just looking even at the digital copy, but it still came through, even from the digital copy, it came through. So I think you were very successful with that. So obviously this book is, I mean, it's all about music, right? So, I mean, beginning to end, cover to cover, it's all about music. But talk to us about your perception of the musical connections in this book.
Well, for this book, I really tried to kind of get into like the mindset of, okay, so we have Sister Rosetta Tharpe as, little Rosetta, as I call her in the book. And it's like, well, obviously they have like Apple Music and stuff, Yeah. It's like, so she's in this small town, Cotton Plant, Arkansas. It was still segregated. And it's like, so she's in this small community. What are the sounds that she's hearing? Like, how could she have been influenced by everything that's going on? Because her mother was a musician. She played the mandolin, she played the piano. And then the Black church is, one of the foundations is music. Because that's how, we celebrate. That's how we, express our joy, express sorrow. And so I was really thinking like, okay, well, so she was definitely influenced by the church,
Yep.
and influenced by her mother's music.
Mhm.
But I'm sure she was also influenced by the sounds that she's hearing around her. Because as a child, you know, you're still discovering everything. You're very observant. You're very curious.
Yeah.
And so taking those sounds and trying to figure out, okay, well, how would this translate to a guitar sound?
Yeah.
And then thinking about all the different sounds a guitar could make. So I really try to focus on that and incorporate just everything that was around her.
Yeah, and so the book is full of like onomatopoeia for the teachers that are joining in. Like this book is just a master class in onomatopoeia. It's full of that, and that's like thinking about how kids would interpret those sounds. Like I think that's such a cool way to approach that, and for teachers it's a cool way to approach that as well, in thinking, how would you write this sound, you know, what would you do with this? And I think that'd be a great little mini lesson for sure that could be pulled from this. But I mean, obviously there's a ton, and I'll link up a bunch more ideas below, but that's one that just really jumped out at me as we were going through, as she was thinking from a child's perspective about what the different things would sound like. And I think too, it's something that we maybe don't think about as often, is how kids are forever more influenced by the sights and sounds that they see as children. And then interesting to think about how that weaves itself into what they're going to do and how they're going to express themselves in adulthood. Yeah. Yeah, just a really cool perspective. So as you think about when someone reads your book and they close the cover, what do you want them to leave with?
I want them to leave with like almost like a curiosity of like, well, wait, what sounds around me have I been missing? Like from, you know, the birds chirping outside, bees passing by, you know, when you hear like a truck like rumbling down the street, and trying to figure out, okay, well, what's my rhythm in life? What's my melody? What kind of story can I create? Whether it's with music, whether it's with color, whether it's with, you know, texture and fabric or numbers, and just, you know, knowing that even when you're young, 4 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, or even if you're older, you know, it's like you can do hard things, you can do difficult things, you can make your own music. So I just really hope, you know, it kind of sparks that type of curiosity in people.
Yeah, I think that's really fabulous. And I think Sister Rosetta would probably echo that. You can do hard things. So many hard things that she experienced in life, but she turned it all into this amazing music, and this, but not just that, like in some of the comments I was reading, you know, that she just exudes joy, you know, like you can just see, but not only the joy, like the ethics and her commitment to what she believes, like that comes through too in who she is on the stage. And so that's really beautiful too. But I think that idea of from 4 to 6 learning guitar and that persistence, even at such a young age, I think, you know, that lesson that you're talking about is just really phenomenal. And it does come through from beginning to end because of her and because of how you wrote and how you illustrated. So that's a great message, and a great takeaway for teachers that are watching, to say this is the lesson, you know, get them involved in, you know. And I think kids don't spend nearly enough time outside, like you were saying, listening to the birds chirping and you know, what sounds do you hear, just taking a nature walk outside school and saying, let's listen for what we hear, you know. Yeah, powerful stuff. Really, really good. Talk to us, Charnelle, about what's coming next. So obviously you've worked on other books prior to this one. So what's coming next for you? Do you have anything coming down the pipeline? What exciting projects are you working on?
Let's see. Well, I'm working on my next manuscript. Can't say what it is yet. Still trying to figure that out.
Yep. The joys of publishing.
Yeah. But but that will be coming down the tracks. And then other that, illustrating more books. I have a book that just came out, written by Natasha Tarpley, called Kiana Loves Her Family, and it's a series of 4 books. So the first book just published in December, and then the next book will be out, I believe, later this year.
Okay.
So that's very exciting. But yeah, so just working
Yeah, just
away.
working. We're always working, aren't we? Now the Natasha books, are those did you use collage for those too? Is that your favorite medium to work with?
Well, I kind of choose medium based off of the story, and then of course based off of if the publisher is looking for a particular look, based on my portfolio and stuff. But that one is done digitally,
Okay.
so mainly in Procreate, and then if I need to touch stuff up, I'll do it in Photoshop. And yeah, so I am doing another book that I will be starting this month that will be paper collage as well. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
And I believe that one will be out next year. So I don't think I can mention it just yet because it
I
hasn't been
gotcha.
announced. It hasn't been announced yet, but that one's going to be cut paper. So there will be another one coming out soon.
Cool. That's such a neat medium. Yeah, it just has such a nice look to it, I think. I mean, yeah, but again, I have no artistic talent, so I don't know. But from my perspective as a viewer, I really like the paper collage. It's really lovely and beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
is there anything else that you would like for us to know about Little Rosetta or the process or anything that you'd like to share with us before we close out?
Just that I hope people check out those videos that you post. Sister Rosetta Tharpe was a trailblazer, and she was a showstopper.
Yes.
She loved wearing different colored wigs and stuff. I wish those videos were in color.
Yeah.
Because she loved wearing different colored wigs and those jackets. And you might notice, like, throughout the book, I tried to put her in different like jackets and like dresses and stuff to just kind of give a little nod to her love of fashion and everything. So yeah, I just hope they get kind of like a well-rounded view of what she could have been like as a kid to adulthood.
Yeah. Such a cool story. Sister Rosetta Tharpe, the godmother of rock and roll, but from all counts, everything that I've read and seen says she's just the mother of rock and roll.
Yep.
If Elvis is the king, or like, no, she's the queen. She was before, she was during.
Well, Elvis actually was influenced by her.
Yes.
And he did mention that. So, she is literally like the root of all those different musicians that came after her. And I'm glad she's finally, getting the recognition that she deserves.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah, I was listening last night to her version of Down by the Riverside, and I was like, oh my gosh, like Elvis's version, like he just flat out copied her version of that right there. I mean, it's so like, oh my gosh, yes. So yeah, and I mean, but so many, and she played with so many different people, and I mean, yeah, just amazing. Guys, you got to check out the videos. You got to read the book. Listen, request it from your library. We talk all the time on PBJamz about how you can support the authors and illustrators and musicians that we have on. And certainly buying Charnelle's book is a great way to support her. Following her on social media and watching what's coming next for her, that's super important. Writing reviews. If you do read Little Rosetta and the Talking Guitar, please leave a review. Amazon, Goodreads, anywhere that you can share that out. Word of mouth. I talk about that all the time because I think it's one of the best ways that we can share and that we can support each other, is to say, you know what, this book by Charnelle Barlow is the bomb, and it's about this amazing woman. And then you're getting, Charnelle's getting the recognition that she needs, and hopefully people are going to go out and buy that book. But also Sister Rosetta Tharpe is getting, what she deserved so long ago and is finally, getting to. So, reviews, word of mouth, requested at your local library, at your school library. This is, obviously it's a picture book. It's very appropriate for kids, and there's so many lessons to be learned there for them. So those are all great ways. Can you think of another way, Charnelle? Am I leaving anything out of ways that can support?
I think you hit them on the head, just talking about it, whether that be just on social media or you call up a friend. I'm one of those people that's like, I feel like children's books are literally for everyone. So
Absolutely.
like you can buy it for your adult friends too.
Absolutely.
I love children's books. So I mean, I'm biased, but
Same. Totally same. Yes. Yep. As a matter of fact, I'm all the time thinking of my adult friends when I read picture books. It's not, they're absolutely not just for kids. They're not. And books like this in particular, like she achieved fame in adulthood and she did adult things. And so even though you've written this in a very child-friendly way, like, yeah, it's totally 100% applicable to us as adults. And there's still hard things that we're facing and things that we still want to pick up.
Jams, jams, jams. Picture books and jams. Welcome, everybody, to PBJamz. Music and picture books. What a perfect sandwich. Squish them all together.